All right, let's talk about Trump versus Jerome Powell. I think this is like an important story that's getting kind of under-discussed. Yeah, we all know our man Jerome, huh? Sometimes called too late Jerome Powell. Jerome Powell, chairman of the Federal Reserve, okay, is in a bit of a war with Donald Trump, which is surprising because Donald Trump appointed him back in 2017. But right now, Donald Trump wants one thing. He wants interest rates to come down, which will juice the economy, which will get people to borrow and spend more. Think about it very simply. If you have a credit card that has a 30% interest rate, you're probably going to use it less than if it had like a 2% interest rate. The amount it costs you to borrow money is a good determiner in how much you're going to use it. Very simple. Jerome Powell can set interest rates, and he's been keeping them flat at around 4.5%. And the reason is because if you lower them, it could cause inflation. And if you raise them, it could cause a recession. So he's been holding it flat and trying to wait and see the impact of things like the tariffs and the possibly slowing economy and the possibly rising unemployment. He's just trying to wait and see, okay? But Trump is freaking out and would like the interest rates to be lowered. Now, you all kind of know this as a high level, but Trump's been hinting at it and making nicknames for Powell, calling him too late Powell, calling him stupid, calling him slow. We all know all this. But recently, Trump had an idea, a bit of a silly little goofy idea. I think he was meeting with some fellow Republican operatives, and he said, okay, you guys keep telling me I can't fire Jerome Powell because it'll cause problems with the markets. I don't believe you. I'm Donald Trump. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to leak that I'm going to fire Jerome Powell, and then I'll see if you guys were right about your stupid suggestion. So Trump goes to this meeting, he leaves the meeting, and then a bunch of Republicans start basically leaking, like really openly, obviously with sanctioning of someone higher up, because otherwise they wouldn't do this. Jerome Powell is going to be fired. Firing is imminent. A couple other people said, like, I was at a meeting, it's being discussed that Jerome's gonna get fired. It was leaked to all the major papers. There's this big thing, Jerome Powell's about to get fired. Now again, Jerome Powell has said time and time again, the president cannot fire me. I cannot be fired. It's not legal for him to fire me. I'm not going anywhere. But Trump has never let that rule stop him. So Trump is pretty much getting ready to fire him. Instantly. Look at this tick at 10 a.m. The second this is leaked, the United States' borrowing costs spike astronomically. This is our ability to borrow money from other countries. This is the interest that we have to pay. Our borrowing costs spike instantly because if you are in a country that is firing your supposedly independent chairman of the Federal Reserve so you can force interest rates down, it is a bad sign for your currency, for your economy, for the independence of your central bank, and for your reliability of your debt. So borrowing costs spike instantly. The market gets shaky instantly. Trump, recognizing, okay, maybe you guys were right, immediately pulls back. All the Wall Street Bets guys said, we will make January 6th look like a picnic if this happens. After the leaks, everyone started freaking out that Jerome Powell was going to get fired. I'm not leaving.
I'm not fucking leaving.
The markets were unsteady and the bond market went crazy. The cost of borrowing for the United States was spiking and getting worse. So everyone's following up on this story. So they go and they ask Mike Johnson, is this going to happen?
Can the president fire Jerome Powell?
Can the president fire Jerome Powell? I'm really not sure. I have been...
What a spineless coward. The answer is no. He knows it's no. The entire point of the central bank is that it's independent. If the president can at will fire and replace him, then it's not independent. It's completely controlled. Everyone knows the answer to that in government. He knows the answer to that. He's being a spineless coward. Anyway, clearly there's a play to try to make it happen. But they're not worried about the law stopping them. They're only worried about the borrowing costs of the United States, which then got so bad that President Trump had to come out and say he's not going to do it.
Plans. What's your justification if you're thinking about this to do this?
Too late. He's always been too late, hence his nickname, Too Late.
You gave him that nickname. It's not like his reputation precedes him and that's why he's always been called Too Late. You gave him that nickname.
He should have cut interest rates a long time ago. He's a terrible Fed chair. I was surprised he was appointed.
You were surprised he's appointed. That's an interesting thing to say. I wonder if we could take a little trip back to 2017. Just a tiny trip back.
As president, there are a few decisions more important than nominating leaders of integrity and good judgment to hold trusted positions in public office. And few of those trusted positions are more important than the chairman of the Federal Reserve. Accordingly, it is my pleasure and my honor to announce my nomination of Jerome Powell to be the next chairman of the Federal Reserve. Congratulations.
It's so interesting. It's just so interesting. Because now he's a stupid idiot who never should have been appointed. He's too late, Powell. So anyway, the rest of that sentence is Trump saying he's not going to fire him.
No, we're not planning on doing anything. We're very concerned.
He backed off. We're not going to fire him. Immediately, when this JK happens, everything bounces back. Okay? Everything bounces back. Stock market bounces back. The bond yields start to drop. Look, you can see it right here. Bond yields drop back down to where they were. It instantly goes back. However, as with many things with Trump, whether it's tariff or anything else, him backing off in the short term does not mean that he's backed off in the long term. Trump is still very much trying to get rid of Jerome Powell. He's just going about it a different direction. Now, he's realized that if he tries to break the law, essentially, and fire him, there's going to be such a legal battle be a problem. But if he fires him for cause, it's allowed. And he thinks maybe he can get through it that way. Now, he needs a cause. Jerome Powell hasn't broken any laws. There's no real reason to fire. You can't just fire him because of your own whims. This is what he's figured out. The plan they've been going is this one. They've started this whole narrative that Jerome Powell is spending way too much money to renovate their headquarters. They basically are saying that they're spending way too much money on renovation. Now, again, this is a multi-year long, massive renovation that involves moving 2 buildings that has been approved for years now and has been slowly moving the process. Now Trump is saying things like, wow, listen, I always knew he was stupid, but I didn't know he needed a palace. And they're basically accusing them of fraud in the way that they're building the central bank's new buildings. Trump aims to use the building project to either force Powell to resign or justify his removal in court. On Wednesday, Trump said it was highly unlikely he would get rid of Powell unless he has to leave for fraud. Dude, one thing that is so obvious after 6 months of Trump is that the plans are always so transparent. Whether it's the Epstein stuff, whether it's this, you actually can figure out what he wants and what he's doing so easily. It's very easy to read. And so this is the plan. They are sharpening the attack around cost overruns and marble construction. The fact that he used marble and not glass is going to be the reason to get rid of the Fed chair. This is what they're trying to go for. I don't know if this will hold, but I think they're doing it as for public opinion and not the court of law, because it just seems very unlikely they're going to get a court to agree this is a reason to remove the Fed chair. Now, here's the deal. Who does he want to replace Jerome Powell with? That's an easy answer. This guy. Kevin Hassett. You know he's a great economic advisor because he worked on the 2004 campaign of George Bush. That's where he got his start in economic advising, which of course is one of the greatest economies of all time. Kevin Hassett is who they're trying to get to replace Jerome Powell's Fed chair so that he can cram down interest rates and hopefully get us back to a bubbly 2021 NFT style economy with the accompanying inflation to match. Now, the problem for all of us, even if we are fully committed, and I think, by the way, Jerome Powell, for his many flaws, Jerome Powell was too late to recognize inflation initially. Jerome Powell once said, I don't see any systemic risk in Silicon Valley Bank, and then later said, we have to bail out Silicon Valley Bank because of the systemic risk. There's a lot of things I like about Jerome Powell, but there's many things I don't. Jerome Powell has been incredible in an extremely, extremely difficult job at not crumbling under the pressure from many different sides to do something other than what I think the data demands. I think he's been very good at it. And I will say that I don't think he has used it to enrich himself. I think he has done his job. I overall am positive on Jerome Powell, even if I don't think he was as legendary as some say. And so, he does give the United States some credibility and some air of safety with regards to our debt for the rest of the world. And when he is gone, replaced by a toady, it's going to be a problem. Even if Trump can't fire him or can't figure this out, his term is up in early 26. So we're like a year away from Jerome Powell being gone no matter what. And that's when things get a lot crazier. It's going to be really bad if he gets forced out early, but it's bad either way in 1 year. So that's kind of the update on the Jerome Powell situation and what's going on. I do think he'll be able to stick around. I don't think he's going to get forced out early. The idea, again, of him getting forced out because of this building cost overrun is, I think, absurd. Again, there's not much judicial precedent on this at all. There aren't many cases you can really look at to see exactly what the parameters are for that. Yeah, I just don't know. I just don't think it. It was just reported Representative Luna has criminally referred Jerome Powell for fraud to the DOJ. Is that true? Oh, wow. 4 hours ago. I am criminally referring Jerome Powell to the DOJ to investigate perjury regarding his crazy $2.5 billion building. This is the same woman that did the quote unquote leak that he was getting fired to test it out. There is clearly a plan here to do whatever they can to force Jerome Powell out. I just want you to be super aware of what's going on. There is no, they don't fucking care about the building. This is a plan to get Jerome out, to hopefully force interest rates down, to hopefully try and spark some life back to this decaying economy.